Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Glad to have you aboard this morning as we get set up for the biggest matchup of the season so far in terms of the off-season calendar, with Mr. Philip Broberg and Mr. Dylan Holloway coming back to Edmonton to play their first game since signing the offer sheets in St. Louis, and things have gone pretty good for them over there, albeit for a second year in a row, both of them saw a head coach get fired. So this is where the interesting part of all this is. The Oilers have been in turmoil but haven't fired their coach. And then the Blues have seen both Broberg and Holloway succeed and fired their coach, albeit, yeah, I get they got Jim Montgomery and that's a move you just make. But the St. Louis Blues currently sitting on the outside of the playoff picture looking in. They have more goals against than the Edmonton Oilers this season. They have less goals for than the Edmonton Oilers. And other than maybe riding hot since signing Jim Montgomery to that contract to coach the bench, things in St. Louis weren't necessarily the prettiest. They were at a time 9, 11, and 1. So over the last 5, they've turned the ship around, and obviously we'll see what that means for Broberg, Holloway, and the like here tonight against the Edmonton Oilers. So what we know, friends, is there was an article published by Mark Spector on sportsnet.ca last night, yesterday sometime, talking about kind of the failures of Woodcroft and the Edmonton Oilers management before Jeff Jackson stepped aboard to get Broberg and Holloway done. And again, I think a lot of folks will give a lot of credit to Ken Holland that I'm not saying isn't deserved, but is a little overblown. And when you look at the failures and the missteps that Ken Holland ultimately did make and allowing certain things to happen, which he definitely had control over, was tough. And I think, again, for Mark Spector, it's easy to attack and go and use Jay Woodcroft as the scapegoat in this situation, because rather than tarnish the legacy of a Hockey Hall of Fame general manager, a guy working for the NHL, you go after the guy who's out of the league right now, has unsuccessfully bid for almost every NHL job that's come available on a head coaching job. And while Spector does make some good points on kind of like the 11-7 system and, some other situations, that the ice time and stuff that came up with Broberg, but the other side too is just that it's a hand-in-hand approach. He does lay some blame with Ken Holland, which is fair, like I said, but it's one of these things we're going to be raking over for years and years and years here in Edmonton. And the only tough part is Dylan Holloway actually started the season on time for the first time in his career, right? I think, again, if Dylan Holloway's in Edmonton this year, even if he's playing second line minutes, his production's probably pretty similar to Vasily Podkolzin. And then Philip Broberg, yeah, he's probably going to do about the same as he is in St. Louis this year, playing alongside Darnell Nurse. But again, it's not like we haven't had some production from some other sources that kind of make up for that. And again, the Oilers, I think there was a good tweet about Ryan McLeod and Adam Henrique yesterday. It really does come down to the Oilers notoriously start slow, and just because some other team like the St. Louis Blues picked up 2 of our old guys and they started early, does that necessarily mean anything for the Edmonton Oilers in terms of roster mismanagement? Yes, to some degree it does. And to some degree, I don't know if it'll matter by the time we get into the second week of May. So you look right now today, friends, entering action, Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard both sitting around there. In fact, separated by .03 on the save percentage marker right now. So that's not too great. Again, like, Calvin's been great, but a 255 goals against average and a 892 save percentage isn't exactly all-star goaltending like some might claim. And for Stuart Skinner, it's not the worst goalie in the league with a 297 goals against average and an 889 save percentage. So just, you look kind of the wins losses, Stewie's definitely been in there for the games where his guys don't score goals, and that's why he's got the 7 losses. Following things, now you've got Matthias Janmark with 11 points. Nuge has crept up to 14. So all of a sudden this everyone yelling at Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for not being around this year. Nuge is now on pace for 44 points this season out of almost nowhere over the past little bit, but that was what happens when you start adding those assists. I mean, Matthias Ekholm's got 11 points. Darnell Nurse has got 10 points. Bouchard up there with 20. So suddenly, the blue line's kind of crowded for point scorers to begin with. So I don't know necessarily even if Philip Broberg would have the points he has. I know he's kind of seen some different ice time in St. Louis playing on the top line with Colton Parayko. Jeff Skinner, who everybody's like, man, if he would just show up, we'd be good, now has 10 points on the year. You've got Zach Hyman after a 2-goal effort with 10 points. And then you got Brett Kulak up there. Adam Henrique's crept up to 9 points. And like I said, the motion on X last night talking about, if Ryan McLeod only had 9 points in 26 games, everybody would be yelling to get him out of town. And everyone's yelling about how good he's doing in Buffalo. But we've got Adam Henrique, and we're satisfied with Henrique on the third line doing what he's doing. So balance it a little bit early in the season. That's all I caution. Connor Brown's got 3 goals, 5 assists this year. Podkolzin's now up to 12 minutes and 55 seconds time on ice. So you imagine if that levels off at about 17 by the end of the year, if he keeps playing top 6 minutes, that's going to creep his point totals up quite substantially. And there's not necessarily any big negative player on the team outside of Jeff Skinner, right? There's a couple -5s, but Jeff Skinner's a -9, and that's really as bad as it gets for a team that's really struggled at times out of the gate in the goal scoring department. So a game against the St. Louis Blues. It's not a get-right game. That was against Columbus after a stymied effort of good work against the Vegas Golden Knights. But one would figure that a game against the St. Louis Blues, facing a couple old friends, is going to force the Oilers on a Saturday night at home to show up and show out. And it should be a good matchup to watch on Hockey Night in Canada tonight. Looking forward to it, obviously. Not sure if I'll have the live stream. I believe I'm headed up to Red Deer tonight for a birthday party. So we'll stay tuned to see, obviously, what happens there. But nonetheless, I will be watching the game. The party's not till tomorrow, so welcome to family around Christmas. But we'll get that Oilers game watched. We'll have the post-game edition from the deck in Red Deer there, or Sylvan Lake, or wherever the heck I am. I don't even differentiate between the two. But friends, that'll pretty much do it for this edition here on the channel. If you are new to the channel, I definitely tell you, hit that like button. I know it's an early morning edition. I'm not going to try and stress the voice out too much yet, especially if I'm going to think about live streaming. And as well, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, make sure to do that here on Dolynny TV. Just one thought that I missed when I was entering the numbers here. The Oilers have flipped their goal differential. It is now positive. They're up to 16th in the league for goals per game and 12th in the league for goals against per game. So things are starting to look positive. The power play percentage at 19.4 is at 19th in the NHL now. And the penalty kill percentage is at 73.0, which is good for 27th, considering we were ranked at 29th coming into the game on Thursday. Friends, have a great rest of your Saturday. Unless anything major breaks, I won't have anything for you. As always, I'm up on out of here. Have a great day.